Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about a lot of policy shifts on this show, but they're usually incremental. A little tweak here, a budget change
Some
there.
small adjustments.
Exactly. But today is, well, it's different. We are looking at January 5th, 2026. And this is a date that I think historians might actually circle.
Oh, for sure. The phrase that keeps coming up everywhere is that the rule book wasn't just rewritten.
It was ripped up.
It was completely ripped up. This is the Great Pediatric Vaccine Reset, and I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. The U.S. government has, effectively hit the reset button on how we do childhood immunization.
It's massive. And just to be clear for everyone listening, we're not just talking about a CDC press release. This is a change to what actually happens in the doctor's office.
In every exam room. Well, almost every exam room.
Right, and we will get to that part. But let's start with the headline number, because it really stopped me in my tracks. For my entire life, the vaccine schedule has only ever gone one way.
Up. Always up.
It's always additive. You add a shot, you add a booster, it never goes down.
That's been the whole model of modern public health, right? More protection, broader coverage.
Until now. As of January 5th, the CDC has slashed the list of universally recommended childhood shots from 17 down to 11.
It's a huge drop. Over 30%.
It's not a trim, it's an amputation.
It really is. And to get the gravity of that, you have to understand what universally recommended really means.
And it's basically a mandate.
For
right?
decades, yeah. If a vaccine was on that routine schedule, it triggered insurance coverage, it triggered school entry rules in most states. It was the default standard of care.
The opt-out model, the conveyor belt.
Exactly. And now, 6 different things have been pulled off that belt. We're talking about the annual flu shot,
COVID-19, obviously.
COVID-19, rotavirus, and the meningococcal vaccines. Both of them. They're all off that must-have list.
So this is where we have to get really precise, because I know people are wondering why these specific ones, why keep polio and measles, but cut something like rotavirus?
That's the core question. It really comes down to a major shift in philosophy. A new way of calculating risk versus benefit for the community versus for the individual child.
So what's the new calculation?
The sources are saying they're creating a distinction between consensus vaccines and conditional vaccines.
Okay, what does that mean in plain English?
Consensus vaccines are for the big ones. Polio, measles, tetanus, things that have high mortality or are incredibly contagious. The consensus is absolute.
Yeah.
You need near universal vaccination to prevent, a public health catastrophe.
Compared to rotavirus, which, if you've had a kid with it, it's a nightmare, but it very rarely kills children in the U.S.
Exactly. The mortality rate here is incredibly low because we have access to hydration therapy.
Yeah.
So the new argument from HHS is it the federal government's job to mandate a vaccine for a non-lethal condition?
Under the old model, the answer was yes.
Yes, because it cut down on misery and hospital visits. But under this reset, the answer is no. They're saying if the main benefit is reducing symptoms, not preventing death, it shouldn't be a federal default.
And that logic then applies directly to the flu and COVID shots. They've always been the most contentious ones for mandates anyway.
Right, because the target is always moving. They're endemic viruses, the variants evolve, efficacy wanes. By taking them off the universal list, the CDC is sort of admitting these aren't one-and-done shots like MLR.
It's a huge philosophical pivot. It's moving from we must prevent every illness to we must prevent the healthcare system from collapsing and the return of, plagues.
That's it. It's a narrowing of the public health mission.
Okay, now before we get into the politics of this, there's a technical change in the sources I think is getting a little buried, the HPV vaccine.
Yes. And this is the one case where less is more might actually lead to better vaccination rates.
So HPV used to be a multi-dose series, 2 or 3 shots, which was a hassle.
A big hassle. The drop-off rates were really significant. A lot of kids would get the first shot but never come back for the second or third. Well, we've seen data from the WHO and other places for a while suggesting a single dose gives comparable protection. And the U.S. has finally adopted that.
So HPV is still on the list of 11, but it's now just one shot, one and done.
Exactly. And think about how much easier that is. Telling a parent one shot today and you're protected against cancer is a much better pitch than, okay, come back in 6 months, then again in a year.
It removes the friction. It fits the whole theme of this reset. Simplify, streamline, and remove the things that cause conflict.
But the HPV change is about dosage. The others, moving vaccines into this new category, that's a structural change.
Let's define that term they're using. Shared clinical decision-making. It sounds like just another piece of jargon.
It's not. It's a really important legal and operational term. It means the default is now neutral.
So it's not you should get this, it's we should talk about this.
Precisely. The doctor has to present the option, talk about the specific risks and benefits for your child, and then the parent decides. The conveyor belt is gone.
Which sounds great, patient empowerment. But I'm imagining a busy pediatrician's office in flu season. Does a doctor really have 15 minutes to debate the meningitis B vaccine with every single family?
That's the operational nightmare. The old model was built for efficiency. Here's the schedule. Sign here. This new model requires a real consultation, and it puts a huge burden on the parent to be informed.
And this brings us to the why, the philosophy driving all this, which the administration is calling the Denmark model.
Right. They're pointing to Denmark and Japan as their models for this.
Okay, I have to push back a little here. I mean, Denmark is a small, homogenous country with incredibly high social trust. You can't just copy-paste a Scandinavian health model onto, well, the American system.
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, and it's a huge gamble. The administration's theory is that the reason trust is so low here is because of all the mandates.
So the idea is, if we stop forcing you to get the shots you're skeptical about, you'll trust us more on the ones that are absolutely critical.
That's the paradox, yes. Lower the mandates to raise the trust. Denmark doesn't have school mandates, but they have extremely high uptake for things like measles because people trust the system.
But Denmark also doesn't have 50 different states that can just tell the national government to take a hike.
And there's the flaw in the copy-paste job. In the U.S., the CDC makes recommendations. The power to enforce them for school entry lies with the states.
Which is exactly where this story shifts from a medical debate to, well, a potential constitutional crisis. Because the CDC ripped up the rule book.
And 19 states have picked up the pieces and taped them right back together.
We're not talking about small states either. We're talking California, New York, Illinois, huge populations. They looked at the new list of 11 and just said, nope, we're sticking with 17.
Explicitly. They have state laws that mirror the old CDC guidance, and they're basically saying, we don't agree with the Denmark model. We think without mandates, our vaccination rates will collapse.
We have a patchwork nation now.
The completely divided nation. This isn't just slight variations anymore. It's a total bifurcation of the standard of care.
So let's play this out. Say you're a parent in a state that follows the new federal guidance. Let's say Nevada. Your kid is fully vaccinated with 11 shots. Then you move across the border to California to start kindergarten. Suddenly what happens?
Suddenly your child is delinquent, non-compliant. You can't enroll them in school until you get them caught up on rotavirus, meningitis, and maybe even flu and COVID, depending on the school district.
That's wild. You're healthy on a Tuesday and a public health risk on Wednesday just by driving a few hundred miles.
And think about the money. What about insurance?
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
The ACA mandates free coverage for ACIP-recommended vaccines. If the CDC moves these into shared clinical decision-making, do insurers still have to cover them for free?
So Blue Cross could say, well, that was a choice. Here's your $200 bill.
It's a huge gray area. In those 19 resistant states, they'll probably force insurers to cover them. But in the reset states, we can see a situation where the chopped vaccines become, luxury goods.
Which would create massive disparities.
Absolutely. The Denmark model assumes a level of equity and access that we just don't have.
So if we zoom out, this is basically a giant real-time experiment testing two different theories of human behavior.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Theory A is that mandates work. People are busy and they need guardrails to keep everyone safe. Theory B is that mandates breed resentment, and if you treat people like adults, they'll make good choices.
And because we have 19 states opting out, we're literally going to have a control group. We'll be able to see what happens to the data over the next few years.
What are you watching for? I mean, besides the obvious, disease outbreaks?
Outbreaks are the final report card. Right. But before that, I'm watching the uptake rates for those conditional vaccines in the reset states.
Yeah.
Does flu shot coverage just completely collapse? If the administration is right, we shouldn't see a total collapse. We should see a healthy, voluntary uptake.
And if they're wrong?
We'll see clusters of rotavirus shutting down daycares, meningitis cases on college campuses, things we haven't had to worry about in the same way for a long time.
It's incredible to think that your biological protection is now becoming a matter of geography.
It is. But this is the result of a system under stress. The tension between central authority and individual liberty was stretched to its breaking point during the COVID years. This reset is the rubber band snapping back.
And the question is, did it snap back too far?
That's the question. And for you listening, the takeaway here is really practical. You can't assume you know the rules anymore.
Right. Don't rely on the main CDC website.
No. You have to check your specific state's Department of Health website because it might not reflect the reality in your town at all.
And if you're in a reset state, you need to be ready for a much longer conversation with your doctor. The menu is open now. You have to place an order.
And maybe bring your wallet, just in case.
Good advice. So this is obviously just the beginning. The legal fights between the 19 states and the federal government, they're just getting started.
Oh, this is going to the Supreme Court, almost guaranteed, especially when the fights try to tie funding to compliance with the new model.
Well, we will be watching that docket very closely. For now, thanks for helping us navigate this new map.
Happy to do it. It's a brave new world.
It certainly is. To our listeners, thanks for diving deep with us. Whether you're in an 11-shot state or a 17-shot state, stay healthy, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.